Hau Mitákuyepi. Welcome, everybody. My name is Annette S. I am mixed race Lakota. My family name is Wambli Luta, Red Eagle. I am your host. I am speaking to you today from Minnesota, Minnesota, US. We have an excellent team of Lakota elders and knowledge holders. We are really excited to share the content and the teachings with you today. So huge welcome to everybody. I also want to acknowledge our educator leads, Mr. Conley and Ms. Stately, and the schools that they are working in and their students in St. Paul Public Schools, American Indian Magnet, and Osseo area schools in Minnesota. I want to welcome all of you students because guess what? This work, all this hard work that we put together to create this is for you. It's for you, really. So I'm so glad that you made it. I'm especially glad that you made it because we are going through a really hard time during COVID. This is not normal time. This is a COVID storm. So my heart goes out to all of you, especially you students. You've had a lot of hard times, difficulties, challenges with your education. So we're trying to give you this gift here. I want to acknowledge all those that have died in our country, in the US, and in the globe, and their families. I want to acknowledge them. Okay, with that, we're ready to get started. I want to say that this is Two-Eyed Seeing, NASA and Indigenous Astronomy for the benefit of all. This is Educator. This idea comes from our Mi'kmaq elders. Give thanks to Carol Lanakwood and her Mi'kmaq elders for bringing this idea to us to see with the best of both eyes, with the best in one eye in Indigenous knowledge and the best in the other eye with Western science. But to use both of these eyes for the benefit of all. So this event today, we're talking about our Lakota Indigenous Astronomy. We're weaving together some of the NASA science. We're really excited about things going on. We're rooted in our relationship to the night sky and to sky. We've got a series of 7 events total, 1 each month. So we invite you to join us next month and after that all the way into the spring. Also, I want to give a special thanks, Pilamia, to NASA Next Gen STEM for funding this and making this happen for our students especially. With that, we go right to Jim, who is going to do the land acknowledgement for us.
Hello, I am Anishinaabe, Jim Knutson-Kolodzne, a team member of the Native Skywatchers program. Land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes and respects Indigenous people as traditional stewards of this land and the enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. Why do we recognize the land? To recognize the land is an expression of gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory you reside on, and a way of honoring the Indigenous people who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. It is important to understand the long-standing history that has brought you to reside on the land, and to seek to understand your place within that history. Land acknowledgements do not exist in a past tense or a historical context. Colonialism is a current ongoing process, and we need to build our mindfulness of our present participation. It's also worth noting that acknowledging the land is an Indigenous protocol. There are two Indigenous tribes located in Minnesota, Dakhóta and Anishinaabe. Minnesota Makoche land acknowledgement. Minnesota-Makoche is the homeland of the Dakhóta people, land where water reflects the skies or clouds. Mini means water, soda means clear, but not perfectly so. Cloudy, Makoche means a place, land, or country. According to their oral history, the Dakhóta originated in Minnesota-Makoche. The Dakhóta Nation currently resides on 4 reservations in southern Minnesota. Our event would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on today is the original homelands of the Dakhóta. Anishinaabe land acknowledgement. In 1545, the Anishinaabe began settling in Minnesota, known as the Great Migration. Over the last 474 years, the Anishinaabe Nation has survived, and they currently reside on 7 reservations located in northern Minnesota. We acknowledge both the Dakhóta and the Anishinaabes' painful history of genocide and forced removal from this territory. And we honor and respect the many diverse indigenous people still connected to the land on which we gather. The reading of the land acknowledgement hopefully leads to a commitment to action. A good place to begin is to learn about the indigenous people who were here before you. Recognize the Dakhóta value of Mitákuyepi, which means we are all related. And understand we are all relatives and connected to each other. We have a relationship with all human beings, with all things seen and unseen. This relationship extends to the land, to all things that exist on the land, in the air, and in the water. We ask our schools, teachers, and students to go beyond recognizing and acknowledging this land that they're on, and to consider action steps. Here are the few action steps that our schools are currently doing. Recognition and display of the Fond du Lac Nation tribal flag. Establish and support the Indian parent committees. Recognizing the school is on land cared for and called home by the Voice Fort Tribal Nation. Providing American Indian students with opportunities to be successful. Establishing a cultural maple syruping space. Creating Ojibwe language signs to post around the school. Incorporating American Indian literature in the classroom. And learning from Native culture how to be good stewards of the land on which we learn. And finally, take a few moments to reflect on these words. What does it mean to you to have a school on Indian land? How do you intend to do better for Dakhóta land on which we reside? I want to thank the Red Tree Drum Group for providing an honor song for the elders from which we learn. Miigwech.
Thanks, Jim. That was beautiful. And now what we want to do is just to mention what we're going to be talking about here is the night sky as seen from your own backyard here in Minnesota. So this would be about 8 p.m. The sun sets early now, about 4:45, as we have those shorter and shorter going towards winter days and nights. So what you're going to see if you go out in your backyard about 8 p.m., you're going to see, and you look to the south, you're going to see 4 bright stars. And these 4 bright stars sort of make a box or a square, and it's going to be high in the sky, almost overhead. And this is Kea, the turtle, okay? It's also known as Pegasus. Then just after that, or further to the east, just a tiny bit, are these faint stars, Hehaka, the elk. You see beautiful Mars shining bright there in the elk. And then just next to that is Chanchasha, the red willow, right? So these are some of the constellations we're going to be talking about here. Also in the north, so these are all year round, all night. Even during the day, these stars in the north will be shining down on us from our location here is Blue Spirit Woman, Tolween. Then just over here and above is the Wakian, the Thunderbirds. Beautiful, beautiful constellations that we'll be talking about today. We have our star map here that you can download from our website. You can see here the fall constellations, the north are up here, and then the summer constellation setting, the winter stars rising. Last but not least, I want to tell you, if you look right about sunset and just shortly after about 5 o'clock, you can see two beautiful planets, Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter's really bright, and each night they're going to get closer and closer together until, guess what? In December, and on that special day of December 21st, they're going to appear right on top of each other as one bright dot. They're so close, they're 0.1 degree away from each other as they appear from our backyard, and they haven't been that close in nearly 400 years. So I'm really excited about this winter solstice. There's a close-up of Jupiter and Saturn and some of their larger moons. So next we're going to hear from our Dakhóta, one of our Dakhóta elders, Janice Bad Moccasin.
Hau Mitákuyepi ha Dakhóta chetaska wa chiwik tashunka wa pewe amakiapia. Crow Creek hechia taha wahia. Greetings, relatives. My Dakhóta name is White Hawk Woman Dancing and Heels with Her Horses. I come from the Crow Creek Hunkpati Nation. Presently, I live on the lands of my Dakhóta ancestors, Minnesota Makoche. Over the past 25 years, I have served in the position of a spiritual advisor to my Dakhóta, Lakota, Nakota communities, families, and other tribal members from the Twin City area. It is with great compassion that I share knowledge, healing, ceremony, and wisdom with my people, families, and individuals. I am honored to share Dakhóta knowledge with you today from what I've learned from my Tioshbaya, my extended relatives, my family, and my elders. In my own personal spiritual journey, I have always felt a spiritual connection to the stars, our relatives. Wakataka, the creator, Hahepiwi, the moon, Ampetuwi, the sun, and universe, Sitomani. One summer solstice night at our family Sundance ceremony, there were lights all around the ceremonial tree with the beautiful offerings wrapped around it in prayer cloth and colors. These lights appeared from behind the trees, and they began to circle around the tree as if it were steadying every prayer offering, all the way up to the top. And then all of a sudden, the light bolted up towards the sky and eventually positioned into the Star Nation. We were very amazed and felt very blessed that night. We were very humbled as well. And so I have, I acknowledge and I have respect for above as is below. So from that night, to me, there's always nothing more mesmerizing than the night sky filled with the stars, moon, and glimpses of the universal heavens. In our Ochete Shakawi traditions, the Wichakpe Oyate, the Star Nation is understood to be the place of origin of the Nagi, the soul, Wanagi Iápi, the spirit carrier. We descend down a path worn deep into the handle of the Big Dipper and enter this world through the center of the Dipper between the 4 stars. At one time, there lived a woman spirit at the center of those 4 stars in the Big Dipper. Her name is Wichakpe Towi, Lady Blue Star, or Blue Star Woman. She is a spirit helper who helps the midwives during child labor and birth. The midwives pray to her for assistance and guidance for a safe and healthy birth for both mother and child. When the child is born, they are washed and cleansed with water and sage as a welcome blessing by the midwives. Then united with the mother and family for ceremonial welcoming and blessings by the family's medicine person for a Dakhóta name to fulfill their spirit with a long, healthy life to protect and guide them in the next 4 stages of life. We are born with the original instructions to take care of our earth bodies, our human chanupas, sacred pipe. The heart is the red pipe bowl. The stem is the spinal column. The chanchasha, the tobacco offerings, are offered in the pipe bowl with the 2 gifts of life, free will and choice. These gifts are loaded into the chanupa, into the walk of life, and the smoking of the chanupa and offerings are the demonstration of being a good relative to everything in this world and universe. This quote is by Wakhi. As above, as is below. Pte Sanwi, the holy female Messiah of the Okhódakičhiye Oyate nation, the people. Pte Sanwi brought the 2nd holy chanupa to the Okhódakičhiye. We have a very vital reason for being on this earth, and we must learn and walk in a manner of respect, bravery, humbleness, and humility, honesty and prayer, and through this walk, learning wisdom that connects us to the star nation and the sacred above and beyond the skies. We have an identity as Dakhóta, Lakota, Nakota tribal people. This identity is in our culture, language, songs, stories, and ceremonial rites. The holy rites brought to us by our grandmother, Pte Sanwi, White Buffalo Calf Lady, a holy female Messiah who brought the sacred pipe to the people as original instructions to live. Her story is shared in sacred oral stories. As a Dakhóta woman, I feel very connected and spiritually anchored by the star nation, Wichakpetowi, to the earth spirit of Pte Sanwi, as is above, as is below. Our elders remind us that our 2nd spirit is above and sends us a blessing when we need it, down below. As I looked up to the star nation with prayerful acknowledgement and thanks, I am home, within and above. When we pray to Wakanta, we are sending our voice to the star nation, to the sun, the moon, the universe. The universe hears our voice when giving thanks or a need for direction in life. For we are the 7th sacred direction, and we shall never be lost, and we stand in the center with all of our relatives. Iho. I pray and send a sacred voice to the universe, star nation, all my relatives. I send my sacred voice to Wakantaka to have pity on me, to help me with guidance and direction in my life. Not to fix, but to provide me strength and direction. Daku Waka, something very sacred above all around the universe. Have pity on me. I am humbly praying to you. Help me find the strength in this walk of life through wisdom. Wakatankaya Oshimalaya Omakiyayo Omakiyayo Hayeya Heyo Dakawakaya Ushimalayo Omakiyayo Omakiyayo Hayeya Heyo.
Ilamia, Janice, for sharing that teaching and that beautiful song. Next, we're going to hear from our Dakhóta elder, Ida, Downwind.
Okay. Ha. Lakota shri hahat wa Iápi wa ka opa te oshpae na shunka wa kanto tiwahe. Peta wa kamani wi mie. I am hahatua. Mahota to our relatives, spiritual people of the Medewiwan Lodge. I was blessed to hear the stories of my elder relatives before their passing. I do not pretend to speak for anyone but myself, the stories, the lessons, the ceremonies, because they speak for themselves. The love provided by my Honka relatives who embraced me, who gave me the family I needed at a very dark time in my life, gives me strength. I found the grandmothers, the medicine men, and the medicine women in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. I am blessed to have met them, to be loved and to be embraced as a relative through a Honkalawampi. It is with the utmost respect I share what little I know. I acknowledge the land of our ancestors. Living in this way of life makes me a better human being and a good relative. It was during the time of creation that the animals, the fish, all creatures of the world were made, including Kia the turtle. Kia could live and walk upon the earth and stay under the water for great amounts of time. It is when Mani covered the earth that Kia went to the bottom of the waters, carried mud, and then reached the surface of the waters once again and placed the mud on her back and assisted in the recreation of land. The new land was built upon Kia's back. My elders say the path of our Nagi, spirit, our spirit, is a part of the greater energy of the universe. It is here we meet with the Council of Elders. It is with the Council of Elders that our plan for our life on Unshimaka, on the earth, is made. It is through the path of the souls, the Wanagi Tawa Chanku, the Milky Way. We collect the mystery of our ancestral blood on our path here. We pick up the spiritual strengths, the wisdom, and the knowledge of our ancestors. We are directed to look for the North Star first, the brother who stands frozen in the universe. It is here that we meet Towi, whose name translates as Blue Woman. She is the doorkeeper between the worlds. Towi guides new babies to a safe delivery. It is Towi who whispers the last of our instructions to guide us in this world. Towi is the one who stands and greets us at the doorway when we start our journey home also. My elders say Towi was placed at the doorway and well may be the daughter of Ska, the sacred energy, named Wope, or her Wawayanka. As we move through the doorway and into the arms of our mothers, our grandmothers, or anyone who is acting as a midwife to deliver, this is the one to sing the first song or speak the welcome to this world. Our Wawayanka, our guardian spirit, our Wawayanka, guardian spirit, our Wanagi, the other you is birthed at the same time in the sky world as our Nagi is born in this world. What is below is above. We are connected to our mother and our ancestors by the Chekwa, the navel cord, the umbilical cord. When our Chekwa is cut, we stay connected to our ancestors through carrying our Ma Chekwa in a Chekwa Onaganake, or a navel cord amulet. The chekpa for young baby girls is the one shaped as a turtle. The turtle represents our relationship to Kea. Kea was created a long, long ago. Kea assisted in the creation of the earth as we know it. Kea can live in murky water, expels the toxins, and can walk upon land or stay underwater for long periods of time. It is the heart of Kea that stays beating the longest, even after the time of death. The chekpa for boys is a salamander. It is said that they recover from injury quickly and move with agility. Remember, the chekpa is one connection to our other you, the other our Toi Ska in the universe. It is this connection that keeps us looking up. The universe and the earth began in the Star Nation. As the wind becomes silent on a clear night or day, look up and know you are our creation of Ska, the sacred energy, and our Wamashkashka, something sacred moving upon the earth. Watch the sky spirits. Wait, watch, and listen. Remember, you have a Wawayanka, a spirit, a guardian spirit. Say thank you to all creation. You will remember. Hau Mitákuyepi.
Ilamia, thank you so much, Ida, for sharing those beautiful thoughts and teachings with us. Really could feel that in my heart. So now we have a little time for our students and their questions, as that is our top priority here, the students. So I believe we have some questions that were sent in from Miss Stately's class, and they recorded since they're in distance learning. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Mila.
Hi, my name is Braxton.
I'm Jameson. We are Lakota and we come from the Cheyenne River and Standing Rock Sioux tribes, and we go to Osseo area schools.
My question is, why doesn't the North Star move on the night sky?
I'm wondering, why does the moon look bigger near the horizon than when it's in the middle of the sky?
Why don't we learn about the Dakhóta and Lakota star constellations and only learn about the Greek star maps?
Okay, so I'm going to stop share so we can bring up our panelists and have some answers and responses to those questions.
I can take the North Star question.
Fantastic. Take it away.
This is Mr. Connelly from American Indian Magnet in St. Paul, Minnesota. So the North Star, also known as Polaris, it lies almost directly above the Earth's northern axis. So while the Earth is spinning and rotating, right above the North Pole rests very far away, the North Star Polaris. And because of that, it doesn't rise or set, and it appears to stay put right above the northern sky in the northern hemisphere. But it actually is a little offset, about 3/4 of a degree from the celestial north. And if you do watch it very closely, it moves a little bit in a little circle. But yeah, it's almost directly above the northern axis. So from our perspective on Earth, it doesn't move.
That's a great answer, Mr. Conley. And in the planetarium, I usually say, if you want to try it out, you can stand up and turn in a circle, and there will be a point on the ceiling above your head that will appear not to move. And that is very similar to the North Star, is located out there in space, right above the Earth's North Pole axis. All right, great. How about that second question? What was that second question? Let's see. Oh, why does the moon look bigger? Here it is. Why does the moon look bigger near the horizon compared to when it's over our heads? So yeah, does anyone want to take that? Or I guess I will take that. So this is a really amazing trick of the mind, you'll say, because the moon doesn't change its size. It always appears about the same size. But what happens is when it's low on the horizon, our brain knows when things are far away that it automatically takes into account their distance and says, like, imagine you see a person way down on the road. You don't say, wow, there's a midget, there's a really small fairy person down on that road. Your brain automatically translates and says, oh, well, I see they're far away. So really they're a regular sized person, but just far away. So that's what happens with the moon. So when it's low on the horizon, we can see trees or buildings or whatever. And so our brain automatically thinks, oh, well, it's behind that. So it's really, really far away. We have a sense of scale, of perspective. But when the moon is directly overhead, there's nothing there except for stars and space. And so we have no way to create that kind of perspective. And our brain can't automatically make it bigger according to distance. So this is called the moon illusion, if you want to look it up. And don't believe me, you can take an object like a stone or a coin or something small like a pea and hold it at arm's length and cover up the moon when it's low on the horizon, like the full moon, and then hold it, well, you'd have to be up around midnight, but you can hold it overhead, have an adult hold it overhead and cover up that moon, and you can see that it's the same size, whether it's at sunset, low on the horizon, or overhead. That object will mark the size. So great. And the third question from Jameson: why don't we learn about Dakhóta and Lakota constellations, and why is it mostly Greek? So who wants to take that? Ramona?
I'm going to take that. And thank you, Jameson. I love this young man. He is really a thinker, and he really wants to be included and see his people included. So when we look at history taught in K-12 education, it really celebrates these great men, and normally they're great white men. But our education system is not inclusive of all of this beautiful knowledge from our indigenous peoples who have lived here for thousands of years. And so thank you to NASA for being open-minded and understanding that there is so much more knowledge for kids to know and to help critical thinking skills. So this is a trend right now. We see more students of color trending than non-students of color. And so we want to be more inclusive and help students understand there's not one way of knowing. And especially for indigenous peoples who know this earth and this sky, that we are still here. So thank you, Jameson.
Well said, Ramona. Yeah, culture is embedded in science, and there's many cultures throughout the entire world. So it's time to widen the definition of science itself and to include indigenous science as well. So we have a minute before we go to our next presentation. Would any of the panelists like to say something, especially Ida or Janice, our elders here? We have a few minutes if you'd want to say something to the students and the general public. That would, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can just do unmute.
I gotta unmute. I just really want to take a moment to tell the students. I also spoke to another elder last night from Eagle Butte, what we know in English is Eagle Butte. And so I had a lot of teachings again, in which what solidified even more for me, and I'm reaching 70 winters. So it's, you know, it's the quest for this knowledge is a lifelong thing. And so I'm really grateful that I still have a couple elders left that are older than I. And the similarities in teachings, because one of the questions online was what is the same essentially. And when you get to that star knowledge and you talk about the North Star, the blue woman, and you talk and I know that Ethan is going to do the Mississippi River, and then to the birthing of the mother, when the water breaks, and the sacredness of the placenta, and the trekwa, that it's across, at least I know from my Maori brothers and sisters. And in, of course, the Ojibwe, Anishinaabe cultures, there's a relationship to how those stars were observed. We have different names, and different ways of teaching through each lens. But the commonality is what keeps my quest for knowledge. And I'll probably do that till my spirit, heads home here. And I just wanted to say that out loud because I thought that was an important question from one of the anonymous questions that were down below here. Because they said, do Indigenous peoples kind of, in essence, what's that commonality? So I just wanted to mention that in my quest, nearly 70 winters here, that those are some of those important similarities. And that the idea of, that energy that moves, from what's above to below, and in science, they call that a torus. And I think that's really an important element that science has now said it's proved, but it's something that our elders knew long before. I wanted to at least say that much. I might think more later, but thank you.
Oh, we appreciate your words so much, Ilamia. Janice, were you going to say something too here, or
I would just, greetings to the young relatives. I'm really happy that you are here today along with the panelists and, learning about the Star Nation, Wichakpe Oyate. It's all about our, relationships that are interrelated to everything around us. And one thing I would like to expand on about Wichakpe Towi is, one question might be, well, how come we don't see her symbol in between the Big Dipper today? Why isn't she there today? So I was fortunate to visit with my relative, Sid Bad Moccasin. He's our spiritual leader and he's a medicine man. And we were talking about that last night. And so the story is about Wichakpe Towi is she used to come down here, descend here to Earth. Prior to the 1200s, 1300s, she used to descend down here and accompany the people's prayers and ceremonies, and she had a relationship down here with the people, the Lakota and Dakhóta peoples. However, around that time after 1300, the oral story is that the people lost in her presence. So she is going to leave now because no one is looking to her. And so she ascended back to the Star Nation. And around a few months later, the people looked up to the Big Dipper between the 4 stars, and they saw something explode and break into pieces. There was a bunch of little blue lights. And from that time, they never saw her there again. But however, that, our people through our oral traditions have located her. She left the solar system, but she's still up there. She's still out there. So so that's, a mystery and also, a story that is unraveling through families. So my young relatives, you know, stay curious, look up, and, you know, they say spiritually our bones are of stardust. So in the afterlife, I do a lot of things at end of life. So in our afterlife, our bones, our flesh returns to Mother Earth. And then our spirit, our Nahi, returns back up and travels on the Milky Way, accompanied by Wichakpe, taking him home and escorted by our own four spirits. So I'll leave you with that, and enjoy the rest of the the knowledge of our star nation. It's beautiful. It's a great mystery. Iho.
Oh, so much thanks, Hilamia. It's beautiful to hear both of you and Ida sharing in this way. So we're going to have time at the end too, so stay with us, and all you students and attendees, if you have questions, type those in the Q&A. We have folks watching, and we will get to those questions at the end too, so stay tuned. All right, so now we're going to go back to our recorded presentation from our Dakhóta knowledge holder, Ramona Kitto Stately.
Hau Mitákuyepi, Ampetu kinde owasi, chante washte anapetu zapie. Ramona Kitto Stately, Amakiapie, Dakhóta. Hello, my relatives. My name is Ramona Kitto Stately, and I am Isanti Dakhóta. Some of you may know the Dakhóta as the Sioux, describing the people who lived along the snake-like river here in Minnesota, the Mississippi River. I have just greeted you with a standard greeting in the Dakhóta language. Dakhóta is the oldest living language of Minnesota. In fact, Dakhóta is the language of Minnesota for over 14,000 years. I said Hau Mitákuyepi, which means hello, my relatives. This greeting serves as a consistent reminder that we are all related. And I don't mean just people being related. I mean we are related to all that is in the universe, including the winged ones or the birds, all of the animals, and even the plants, the air, and the water. To all the students out there, I want you to think about how you can possibly be related to a tree or a plant. Well, I'll tell you. A tree gives us oxygen, which is what we need to breathe in to live. And when we breathe out carbon dioxide, which is what a tree needs to live. This is an important relatedness. But I did say we are all related, and this includes the universe. And so we are also related to the sky and the stars. Until recently, the Dakhóta language was not a written language, so we had to be very good storytellers, and we had to have very good memories. In the oral stories that the Dakhóta people have passed on from generation to generation, we are reminded in all ways that we are the star people. We come from the stars, and to the stars we return. For a people who have been here in this place as long as we have pictures in the constellations that help us remember our stories. These objects or pictures can be seen in our beadwork, and in all ways we decorate items. Not as art though, because we have no word for art in our language. But we use these pictures and symbols to transmit knowledge to generations. The more you learn about the Dakhóta people, the more you will see how visuals in the night sky reflect our knowledge or ways of knowing the world, and they help us to remember and pass them on to the people so the people can live. As I prepared for the birth of my first child, I knew that I was blessed by the Creator with a new stage in my life, motherhood. I anticipated the changes that I would experience physically, and I knew that over time I would have to prepare for the Wakahija, or sacred little one. We call children sacred because of all the people in the universe, the children are the closest to the Creator. After all, They have just come from that spiritual realm and at birth cross into this place on earth. All children are sacred. They are pure, they are innocent, and they are perfect. If you are a child, this means you too. In preparation for my new baby, I created a beaded pouch like many Dakhóta mothers do. The pouch in the shape of a turtle is the same as the shape of the constellation we call Kea, the turtle. Once the baby is born, we take the umbilical cord from the baby and place it inside the turtle and then sew it closed. This represents the connection to the star world and serves as a lifelong lesson to that child that we are the star people. So while baby is in mother's belly, they are fed and given nutrients through the umbilical cord. Once children are born, that connection is put into Kea, and we reconnect that child to the stars. For Dakhóta people, we sometimes make these amulets gender specific. For a girl, we use a turtle, and for a boy, a salamander. A turtle is a very powerful symbol for us. Among many other things, if a turtle becomes frozen, it will stay that way until it warms up. Once it thaws out, the heart will beat again, and the turtle will walk away. Imagine having such a strong heart. The salamander is similar for boys. Have you ever seen a salamander or a lizard lose its tail? It just grows right back. We see this as resiliency, or the ability to heal easily. These are prayers we have for all Wakānija. Sometimes we hang these amulets on the cradle board along with other things the baby can see and play with. It works like a baby's mobile and enhances hand-eye coordination as baby reaches for it. You might notice that there are many symbols of the animals in our star knowledge, and the most important thing I can tell you today is that they serve as reminders to us that our connection to the animals is very important and that they are our teachers. Think about this. If the people on earth went away, the animals would flourish. If all the animals on earth went away, the people would not survive. So we have to remember to always protect this relationship and protect the animals.
Wow, that is great. Thank you so much, Pilamia, Ramona. I love that, with the animals too. I just want to remind everybody, all of these recordings will be posted on our website too, so you can watch them again and again. So next we have one of our Dakhóta knowledge holders, Ethan, and he's going to be presenting here. And this is really special because he's going to be speaking in Dakhóta with English subtitles.
Hau Mitákuyepi. Petugde do kira ni ampapira. Nisham petugde. Dayam mayampado. Lemie do. Kachcha tashia tankoichash de makiapi. Dakhóta. Yata mitawakim berawaka twa wichakiapi. Dehan chonana Dakhóta Iápi o kihipcha heo ampetugde Dakhóta o hena Dakhóta wichachbi. Woa hedakikde. Ampetugde Dakhóta yate ga wichachbi o yate do kid hena aikoya yapi woa hedakikde. Mitákuyepi makoche kinde Dakhóta tamakoche heja. Naku makoche ga oyate ki a ikoya gapido. Dechia Dakhóta oyate ohnia wichi chahapi. Naku chachawak baed dakuwa kan taich ya picha Dakhóta oyate ki Okhódaya upi. Dohni oyate ki itoka ga dakia omane bihan makoch do gawakan Iápi. Wakpa gaheda makoch do gawakan ki hena yakapi. Okhódakičhiye etwan pihe han we chank bito wa we chan kapi. Hena o hena wabadeza ka wogachniche ka pejuta we chakupi. Aija daku ayan kapi ki he mako khroka mahed itoa piga kapi. Wakpa gaheda paha kan ena na wayan kap najipi. Dechia wakpa ki ito kakadakia gaduza. Chahio hechid mako wapi ungahapi. Ka ito gataha wichana ki tumpi gapi. Na kundo hant api ki ha ito kakadakia Iápi kteke api. Ed wanahi ta chankuyanke. Chaheo wakpaga hera makapa haga kapi. Ed we chankhpiga makapa haga makokhroka ki hena aikoya gapi. Wankadakia we chankhpi ki we chayu happy. Gaish we chena shakoi app. Ed yonke. Wakpa ed we chankhpi oyate ki mini ohdasti okihipi. Heyo makoche kinde wakayedo. Daku wankadakia he ija kudakia yankapi. Hena owas daku aichache. Hena owas wakayedo.
All right, Lamia, Ethan, that was so beautiful. I could feel that drum and your words in my heart. So, Lamia. All right, so we have one last recorded presentation from our Lakota knowledge holder, and he carries that drum medicine. So this is James Spotted Thunder. He's going to be sharing a teaching from his grandmother with you, and then after that, we'll have time for the Q&A.
Hau Mitákuyepi, Mitakulaki. Chante washte ichiuzapado. Thank you for having me here. And my name is James Spotted Thunder, and I'm an Oglala Lakota from the Pine Ridge Reservation. My Tioshbaye is the Makasa, the white clay Tioshbaye. And I'm here to sing a song and tell a story about this song that was, when I learned it, it was my grandma that taught me this song. So she had a story to go with it. So that's what I'm going to do for you guys today. Person who taught me that song was my grandma. Her name is Thelma Blindman. And when she taught me this song, she told me this story. So, a long time ago, when the people, the Lakota people, could talk to animals, it was dark all the time. There was no sun, there was no light. And so all the creatures, all the animals that could hunt at night, it was their time. And the humans, they were scared because we can't see in the dark. And one person, a woman, she prayed to Tunkashila to help the people, to save them somehow. And the animal that heard her prayers, it was wolf. And the wolf, he heard her prayers and he took her prayers and he ran to the highest place he could get to. It's like a cliff, you know. And when he got there, he prayed. But you see, at the same time, there's something else was happening. Bailey, the sun, he was not here yet. And he heard the prayers of the people. And what was happening though is he knew that this big rock, this huge rock was coming and it was going to hit the earth. And so he heard the prayers of Wolf and he heard her, but he knew he had to stop this big rock from hitting the earth. So when the big rock was coming and it was flying through space, the sun put himself in front of that rock, and the rock went through the sun. And that's how the sun saved the earth. And also, that's how we got the moon. The moon was coming to hit us. And on Bailey, the sun stopped the moon from hitting earth. And he came to do that. And when he came, that's when he brought light to our people. And that's how we got the sun. And so the woman's prayers were heard. So Wolf came back to the people and he told them what I just said about the sun and this moon and what was happening. He said, but I'm going to show you guys a song so that way when you guys need help from me, from my people, from the wolf people, he goes, I'm going to teach you this song and you sing it and I'll come to help you. I want to thank you guys for having me do this. Hau Mitákuyepi.
Okay, Kalamia, James, that was really a good story. And it also reminds us that when we include our Indigenous teachings, that we're coming from not just our minds and our bodies, but also our hearts and our spirits as well. So there's many teachings and many stories, many versions of these histories. So, and it's okay, because it's a big place. We have room for all of our teachings. So we have a couple of student questions that are recorded, so we're going to play those. Then we'll open up for the Q&A.
Why is December the moon of the popping trees? What's the story on the Oak constellation?
Did the Dakhóta people long ago drink coffee? And what did the thunderbolts eat?
Okay, panelists, we have a handful of questions. Starting with, did traditional Dakota long ago drink coffee. Who would like to jump in there? Ethan or anybody?
Sure. We didn't drink coffee, but there's caffeinated beverages around here that our people have. They call it black drink in archaeology, but maybe that's why we call it pejuta sapa, the black medicine, or wakadyapi, something heated up. So we were able to trade with people all over Central America, South America. Our ancestors knew this entire hemisphere long before the Washichu mapped this area. And with that, they lived and paid attention to their relatives outside. So going to that question, why do we call it the moon of popping trees in December? Well, over in this way, the elms, the box elders, the trees with a lot of sap, the pines, they get so cold that that sap will freeze and expand within the trees. So if you're walking around in the woods, it'll sound like gunshots, but it's just the trees popping. So our ancestors were out and about all times of the year, whether it's cold or hot. And so they observed that. And so our calendar is based on observations of life, what we observed going on around us, much different than the Gregorian calendar we use today, where people don't know what the months mean. I mean, what does December mean? Who knows? But Changa Popoli, it's clear what's going on around us outside. So, Wopita, thank you.
Yeah, great. The other two questions had to do with the elk constellation, Hehaka, and thunderbeams, Wakians. And Sagagan wanted to know what they might eat. So anyone feel inspired to address the elk or the thunderbird? Say anything, any words to those?
The thunderbirds eat puppy. Very tasty puppies. Live in cedar trees. But they eat the Okhódakičhiye, the serpent. They fight. They live in the deep waters. And so these two powers of the universe, they're always fighting throughout time. But yeah, those Wakiya, they like to eat the shukhpada. Nice and tasty puppy.
Okay, elk. Anyone have something to share about the elk? Why would that be maybe there as a constellation? I know I've heard, the only thing I've heard is elk is sometimes related to romance and love. It's okay, we might
Sure,
get
I
back.
can touch on that one too. The Hehaka is often, people address it as such, but the Hehaka is really a peacemaker. It brings peace to the Tioshpais and to the Tiwahe. And so they had a unique ability to help people with interfamily relationship problems, or maybe two groups of people were feuding. The Hehaka would shine truth on them, whether it's good or bad. So there was elk men and elk women, and they got their knowledge also from these stars and from the elk nation. And so the elk is a bringer of peace, of Dakhóta.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that. So thank you, Lamia. So I see that we're getting late in the hour, but I wanted to have time for more questions. And before we just go into all-out discussion and Q&A and conversation, I did want to show you one last thing here, and that is right here. I think I have it on the slide, hopefully. Yes, I'm going to say this is really important, though we had a lot to share with our Indigenous astronomy. What our real aim in the bigger picture is, we are supporting both the Western science and all the really incredible, exciting things that are going on, and our Indigenous astronomy. We're trying to do both, and it's a big challenge, but it's what needs to happen. So just quickly, I wanted to say that NASA Moon to Mars, we have the Artemis plan, which is basically we're getting geared up right now to go back to the moon. So by 2024, we want to send the first woman and the next man back to the moon. And so we are coming up with all kinds of plans, everything from redesigning toilets to designing strategies to mitigate the dust, the lunar dust, which is a big problem. This interfering with the technology as all the dust gets on everything. And also any different kinds of gear that we can wear with robotic gear or with internal or external sensors. So NASA has so much going on with this plan to go back to the moon by 2024. and then to Mars by 2030s. And this is really a combination of NASA and commercial spaceflight programs and companies like SpaceX, and also international collaboration from Canada, Japan, Australia, European Space Agency, and so on. So please, teachers and students, ask your teachers to share more about this. And I know our lead educators have incredible activities they're going to be delivering in their classrooms. So the other thing I wanted to say here for STEM on Station, there's lots of cool videos of like astronauts on the International Space Station. How do they get exercise anyways? And what happens if they don't exercise? And also there's this amazing mission called Perseverance. Maybe you saw the launch this summer in July. It went off smoothly, and it's actually on its way to Mars. It'll be landing hopefully in 2021, February, which is not far away. But what's really cool about this rover, Perseverance, it has a helicopter drone, and it has a mission of searching for life on Mars. And this is past life or signs of past life, or possibly any kinds of signs of present life, especially buried in the soil. So this mission is really important and really, really exciting. I know I'm watching very closely for what's going to be happening there, new discoveries. Okay, so we're to the end of our actual presentation content. So we're going to go back to our live Q&A and discussion, and we'll stay on the line. So we'll be taking questions from the Q&A and from, I think Mr. Conley might have one or two as well.
Yep.
And just lastly, I wanted to remind everybody, the next event is in December, the Maya Indigenous Astronomy. So now's our time for any follow-up conversation or discussion, or any thoughts from the panelists they'd like to share.
I have two questions from Miss Lofgren's 5th grade class at American Indian Magnet. Gabby's question is, what is it like being a native skywatcher? And Monzon said, do all planets have water?
Okay, so I can just start off with the Native Skywatchers. I think there's two things here. We started a program called Native Skywatchers in 2007, but in the more general sense, what does it mean to be Indigenous, in particular Dakhóta, Lakota, and really have a passion for the night sky? What does that mean? I think that's the bigger intent of the question. So who would like to jump in there? Ida or anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to take a moment because I'm Lakota means I'm not Lakota, but I'm Anishinaabe, and I say that out loud because it speaks to a ceremony among the Lakota called a Hunkanapi, and I was adopted totally into my family because I was an orphan. And this is something that our people did since the time began, right? And I think, the thing that even in my quest for knowledge and star knowledge, it started when I was young, because I would always find solace and peace when I was outside. And that would be either in day or night. And so I often spoke to our relatives, like the trees, the water, the sky, our Earth Mother, all of those things my whole life, even though I struggled for a long time because I was a kid too once. And in my struggle, it was like I always had that embrace of not only the elements on the earth as we know it, but the star nation. And I think I need to say that out loud, because in their quest for knowledge, they need to also ask yourself questions. Because remember, that what is below is above. And it's always about, because we're given free will and those kind of things when we're born here. And so sometimes our free will really does cause us a lot of struggle. So we need to look to those things, to the other things to help us. But before we run out of time, I really, even as old as I am, my quest for knowledge always continues, because I want to be a good relative to everyone. And so in that, Falling Star was born of Sheila, I think, and who is the father, right? And that goes back to another story, when two beautiful women were also married, because when I say beautiful, I mean, I'm not talking about this physical self. I'm talking about your soul, right? And so that they went to the Star Nation. So it goes way back to another story that we don't have time for, right? So I'm trying to sum it up. And then Angela actually married the woman who pulled the turnip out of the center of the Big Dipper, and that there's a small star that orbits that North Star, and that's his younger brother or sister. You know what I mean? We genderize things because in the English language, sometimes it creates another barrier to our young people who might be, chosen a different lifestyle, and so you have to go to the Star Nation. You have to go to our relatives there, and you have to go inside to figure what is my place in the universe. But Falling Star was actually, the baby that was survived the falling of his mother. And the wolves actually, came upon him and embraced him and raised him. And then they took Falling Star to the Meadowlark of the plains. And there's another story that goes beyond that. But even to get back to the Wia, if we look at that word in Lakota and how it's spelled, we find Ia, who Ia is actually it's not a rock as it's translated. Ia was like that creative sacred energy at the beginning of time. And so it gives that woman even more importance here. And then the placenta, if you lay it out and look at a placenta after the born, you'll see the veins and it looks like a tree. And that's that universe that kept the baby alive all the time that the Earth Mother, us, carried our children. And so I just really think that it's important to know that. But also, even if we didn't have like our chequas or our placentas put in the tree or buried or those kind of things, that we go to our elders, and ask if there's a ceremony or something. I know in Lakota there is a ceremony that can be done to help us reconnect that part of ourselves. So I just want to say that much. I don't know if I answered the question, but if we let's look at that word, and also to remember that, like today, I'm getting ready for he's my second to the oldest grandson's wedding. And it's like him being reminded again, even last night and today, his brother and himself, they didn't go do that old all night party kind of thing. They went just to be with each other and our relatives in the outside. And, they took time to talk about those important things. And I always, I said, you look to how a man treats his mother or his sisters, the females in the family. It'll tell you how your relationship as a woman would be with that, or if you're two-spirited with your partner, you'll always recognize that in the long run. So I'll just say that much. I feel like I'm talking way too much. Wopila Tanka to Ethan, because it's so beautiful to hear the language, and to Janice for the song. And those songs make me cry, because it's like when you understand the spirit or the soul, you start to feel the energy of words. That's how come I said it's important to learn your language, or like me, I actually, my relatives tease me because they say I speak better Lakota than I do Anishinaabe. So they, tease me a lot, but that's okay, because my whole Ka family is Lakota. It's like I was absorbed many, 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 many years ago. So, but learn languages, understand what the language really means, and understand that the word black or darkness doesn't even mean that, really. Because they say we have empty space. I don't believe that. I know I've heard too many stories. So wopila tanka to my fellow panelists. You brought happiness to me.
Oh, what an honor. Thank you so much, Ilamia. Clearly, we need more time, another event where we can share these teachings and these stories. But thank you for showing up. Anyone else want to weigh in on what does it mean to be Native and watch the sky? Or else I can take the water question.
I would just like to weigh in on that quickly, and that's that.
Sure, take your time.
You don't have to be Native to watch the sky. We all have different understandings of that. And I think one of the things about COVID is that as teachers, we're taught to forced to teach in a different way. And in the classroom, we teach a lot about the world, but not experiencing it. And I want you students especially to think about, like, in our Native understandings, we don't limit ourselves to 5 senses. And one of our senses that is so important to know is that that intuitive sense, that sense of knowing, and you have that. And when things go hard, when things get difficult and we look up to the sky, there's a reason we do that, because we have helpers up there, and that's your intuition telling you something. So tap into that and exercise that muscle, because we all have it.
That sounds great. Yeah, and you reminded me, I was going to chime in on this too, that not because of colonization, a lot of our traditions have been lost, and maybe you don't have your chekpa, your umbilical cord, and that wasn't taken care of in that way. But like what Ida was saying, that we carry the earth and sky with us. We carry that inside of us. The earth is our physical part, our bones, our flesh, and this above part, the sky part, is our spirit. So you don't have to feel like you can't participate, and that goes for every human being. You have it. You have what you need inside of you, and you're never going to lose that, right? I'd like to share this from our Hawaiian elder, Larry Kumara. And this is so beautiful. It's a Hawaiian proverb, but here's how it translates: sky above, earth below. Wherever I go, I travel with my sky and my earth. Wherever I go, I travel with my sky and my earth. Is that just beautiful? And then he says, and that is because my cultural roots to my place assure me of who and what I am. Really beautiful. Love that. So like you were saying, Ida, when we share our Indigenous astronomies with our relatives all around the world, we see these beautiful common ground teachings, and they cannot be lost. Ethan, were you going to say something, or anyone else before we go to that second question on the water?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's important for us all to learn our languages, from our elders, from our communities and families, because the knowledge of these stories, of the stars, of the places, is contained within our language. And we can talk about it in English, but it loses its power. English is good for owning places and people, making property, but Indigenous languages are about being a relative to space, to the earth, to each other. And so it's much better and more powerful for us to speak the languages of our ancestors. And as Indigenous people, we never abandon the graves of our ancestors. Here in Turtle Island, they exiled the Dakhóta from Minnesota, but we're still here. We come home and we protect this area. And so other groups, they abandoned their ancestors' graves and they lost that connection to place. But we're still here. And so for the young people out there, take hold of our language. It belongs to you. So
yeah, the language is an incredible source of knowledge. Yeah, and all the teachings that are woven into each and every word. Where would somebody go to learn Dakhóta? How could they jump in on that? How could they get involved? Where could they find you?
There's many resources. The best way to learn is from elders in your family, in your community. That's the best way. But nowadays we're forced to go to school, or I like to call them American Indian children torture and death camps. That's the schools we have today. That's what they do to our children, whether they're public schools or schools on the res. So it's important that we seek out our elders first. There's classes offered throughout the community. You can find stuff on Facebook, YouTube. Really, you just got to put the effort in. People are full of excuses, but you've got to put the effort in to take hold and ownership of our language. So, take courage.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Michael, Mr. Conley, please reread that question on the water. I know it was a good one, but now I can kind of forget the details.
Yes. From Miss Lofgren's 5th grade class, Monzon asked, do all planets have water?
Okay, so this is a really important question, because we know here on Earth that we are made mostly of water as human beings, and we know our planet is covered mostly in water. So we have sort of the saying, where there's water, there's life. Where there's water, there's life. And so in the search for other possible extraterrestrial life, we are looking for water. That would be a good way to find life. And so actually, we do not have evidence yet. There's a lot of mystery and unknown. We do not have evidence of liquid water. That's the key. You might know that on our planet, one of the very special things about water is that it can exist naturally in all 3 states, a liquid, a solid, and a gas. And it's one of the few materials that can do that. So we do not have evidence yet of liquid water anywhere else in the solar system or the known universe, I guess we could say. But we do have evidence of liquid something. We have liquid methane on Titan, one of Saturn's moons, and could possibly be in those conditions a substitute for water. And we do have frozen water, which is turning up everywhere. It's so exciting on the moon. We didn't think that there was water there, but we found through one of the missions, several missions, and the L-Cross mission, that there is frozen water in the craters on the south pole of the moon. Okay, this is very important because you can, from water, you don't have to bring your own. Then we need that to survive for drinking water. We can also split it apart from H2O and get oxygen out of that water. And third, we can use it for transportation in a hydrogen fuel cell battery operated. I want to say the other thing too is that we know that there are lots of planets out there, and I like numbers, so I'll say we now have evidence that there is, on average, 1 planet for every star. 1 planet for every star. So just in our galaxy alone, that would be about 200 billion other planets. Okay, 200 billion other planets. And it gets even better from our Kepler Space Telescope information. We know that 1 in every 5 of those planets is Earth-like. So that by that we mean that it would have the potential to have liquid water on the surface. So 1 in every 5, 20%, or 40 billion. 40 billion. Okay, 40 billion other Earth-like planets just in our galaxy. So I hope that answered your question about the water, but you can tell I'm really excited about this, about finding other places with liquid water and also finding life after that. Okay, so I talked enough and we can have other questions now. Anybody got a question? Maybe one from the Q&A. Jim, were you looking at that? Or if anybody just wants to chime in. We are over time, so we could wrap it up. It's going on half past the hour, but if there's any pressing questions, we can use the time to take another question.
I did see, I saw a lot of questions about when will this be available, or can we see this again later? Are we able to find it? So there were a lot like that to look at in your website. So you might want to answer.
Oh, you got my back. Thank you. That is my reminder that, can you see the website here? Anybody? Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. You never know. This is our Native Skywatchers Indigenous Astronomy Revitalization website. You can go to nativeskywatchers.org or nativeskywatchers.com for the homepage. And then you can go to projects to get to this page for this NASA Indigenous Astronomy Project Two-Eyed Seeing. But in any case, you will see this is the website page dedicated for our event. And so this was maybe where you registered. And this is where everything will be posted. We are so excited to share the content that we've worked hard to create, to share this with you. So if you scroll down here, you can see educator materials and resources. And the star map is there. Just you can click here to download. The booklet is here. You can view and download that. And then we've got 2 worksheets. And we will have right here the recorded live event that'll be coming in the next couple of days. Also, this reminds me that if you're an educator and you would like to get a free star map, an Indigenous star map, you can just do one of our NASA activity in your class and send us some feedback. We're encouraging this kind of participation. And so you can contact Jim here at the email or the phone number. So thanks for reminding me of that. And all of our 7 events will have a dedicated page, project page, and you'll be able to find all the materials there. So check out that booklet. It's really awesome here, and you can download it. Oh, it came up pretty quickly. Here it is, a booklet that you can print out, and it has a lot of this information that we talked about here in our live event with the moon and the star map. And the teachings are for the Dakhóta Lakota fall night sky, some of the amazing NASA content, our educator picks, and our mention of Indigenous science. Okay, so any last thoughts as we're going to be closing out our circle here?
I could go on forever, right? Well, I shouldn't say forever because I'd eventually fade away, but I know for sure that I just want to say to the students and their teachers that, you know, it's that sense of mystery, the sense of following not just the sky and the, you know, but following all our relatives, but mostly the sky, like I'm attached to that, right? Because if you can see the background behind me, that whole wall looks like almost like the night sky with stars. So I just want to say that out loud and to keep that sense of wonder because, like I said, that helps to keep you alive, keeps you close to the earth, keeps you close to the sky, and it also keeps you always moving forward. And realize that in searching in the mystery, there's not always a solid, tangible, hold on thing. And that to be brave, like Ethan said, and to speak, do the best you can, even when, even my Lakota, I was teased the other day and said, you're sounding like you're getting short-circuited over there in Minnesota, right? So I'm speaking to my Lakota relatives. There's very little difference between Lakota and Dakhóta. But in the meantime, I thought, oh, good. You know what I need to do is to get on some of those websites and just listen first and then absorb and speak. Be brave enough to make mistakes while you're looking in that mystery. So Opila Tanka again, students, teachers, educators, and of course my fellow panelists. I look at your faces and I'm just really awed and grateful. You know, not awed, not ODD, but you know, in awe, AWE, of all the knowledge that you carry. And it just does this old heart good.
Oh.
Yeah, Mitákuyepi.
Beautiful. I love that. Be brave enough to make mistakes. Yes, really beautiful. Oh, okay. All right. So a huge heartfelt thanks, Pilamia, to everybody. And we hope to have another event sometime soon. So we'll see you then.
Okhódakičhiye.
Okay.